Good morning, Dr. Hill. It's such a pleasure to see you today, and thank you in advance for taking the time to share your very unique insights by giving us a movie review on the film you've chosen to talk about today called Aftersun from 2022, produced by A24. So let's dive right in with the first question, if you don't mind, giving us a brief glimpse into what is Aftersun about and why does it in particular resonate with you, being a neuroscientist and being the research chair of MIST?
So after Sun, the reason I wanted to kind of have a little review of this movie and discuss it was it's a really unique movie that is written and directed by Charlotte Wells, who had lost her own father at a very young age to suicide. And the movie is kind of semi-autobiographical of her own life with her father, where she portrays a vacation a young 12 or 13-year-old girl takes with her father down to from Britain to the Mediterranean coast, and they spend a few days in a resort, um, not knowing that this is really the kind of last experience she's going to have with her father. And so the movie is viewed through the lens of a child, kind of on a vacation with their father, kind of recognizing that something might be wrong with their dad, but not entirely sure what it is or what to do with it or how to handle it. Um, and then the movie's kind of peppered in with these brief shots of her as an adult, where you can see that she's kind of reflecting and thinking back on her childhood and this final experience that she'd had with her father and what it might mean. And then at the same time, we also see these brief shots throughout the whole movie of her as an adult in this kind of metaphorical space of a rave with
Mm,
pulsing lights, where she's searching to try and find her father through the crowd, which I think is a representation of her trying to kind of come to terms with understanding why it was that he had done what he did, and her to understand where his head was at and what he was struggling with at the time. And so the movie at a surface level is incredibly simple and straightforward. It's really just, for the most part, watching this young girl and her dad go through a series of days down at this resort. But the beauty of what the movie really is captured by the performances, both of the young girl, who's incredible, but Paul Mescal, who plays her father, who received an Oscar nomination and a lot of accolades for the movie, well deserved, because he really portrays a kind of younger father, really struggling with depression, but in a really authentic and not dramatic, like not what you'd usually see in Hollywood,
mm,
in the way that movies often portray mental illness, where things are very melodramatic and over the top, which can sometimes be accurate, but this just feels very lived in and very authentic, that you're watching someone go through the motions and put on a happy face and really try and do their best as a father giving their daughter this experience. But the power of his performance comes from the fact that you can at the same time see underneath the angst and struggles and troubles that he's going through as he battles this depression quietly inside himself. And so for me, the reason this movie is so important and what's so great about it really is the performances and kind of understanding and seeing the way that they portray both the innocence of this child who can't quite process what's happening, but at the same time, her father who really is giving it his all to kind of be there for her, but at the same time, slowly losing a battle to depression himself.
wow. So for you, you are an expert researching the brain and mental health. I'd love to know if you learned anything new. Specifically, I think I'd like to know about your thoughts on if you learned anything about men's mental health from this film.
Well, I think that men's mental health is just often, even when mental health issues are addressed in movies, they're almost always focused on women.
That's right.
And it's just men's mental health is, I think, in the same way it's reflected in society, it's just not something that's discussed in depth. It's not portrayed um,
Yeah.
in a movie like this. And so for me, I think what I really took from this movie was when I watched it, I mean, I've tried to give a bit of an overview of the movie because I do think it actually facilitates watching it if you go in kind of knowing what it is, and there's nothing explicit in it. I mean, you don't actually know that she loses her dad from suicide. This is never explicitly said anywhere in the movie. You get very heavy implications of the way the movie ends as to what's happened, but I found myself, I went in the first time I watched this, and I've watched it several times now, and I do find it gets more and more impactful the more I watch it. But the first time I watched it, I went in blind and I didn't know what the movie was about. And I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what it was because the movie was so restrained. And it took me almost halfway through the movie to actually realize, like, oh, this is actually a movie about depression. Like this is about watching someone quietly struggle. And I think the fact that even as a guy in, the age range where men tend to have the biggest kind of prevalence of depression, um, I didn't even see it for what it was right away. And then once I realized what it was, I realized how restrained and powerful the performance was, and that really got me to think a lot just about the way that in our daily lives, the way that a lot of men just carry themselves and have
That's
this
it.
internal battle that they're going through that's just not public.
It's hidden and often with catastrophic consequences. So then I guess this leads me into my last question for you. Why do you think this is a key movie, a must watch for the public?
I mean, the reason why I wanted to recommend this movie is because I think it's a really good movie to start conversations. I think there is somewhat of a subjective nature of interpreting the movie as you watch it because it's not explicit. Like you don't entirely know what is exactly happening if you don't kind of have a bit of priming to it. I did a lot of reading on the movie after the fact before I rewatched it, and that's what really kind of, oh, okay. I looked at it through an entirely different lens, and when I realized
Yeah.
what the movie was, I realized how effective it was. But I think the reason why I would want to recommend a movie like this is I think it's a good movie for people to watch with other people because I think it gets a really, really important conversation going about the silent nature of a lot of mental illness. I mean, in men and women, but just depression in general, just the way that it's not an overt problem that a lot of people are aware other people are struggling with. And so I think that I think one of the big important things that we need to do is have more conversations about mental health. So I really appreciate movies like this that act as a catalyst to really get those conversations going.
Wow, thank you so much for your very valuable insights and thoughts and opinions on this film. And I, for one, am even more looking forward to watching it. I hesitate to say the word excited to watch it, like I would with many films, but I'm very much intrigued and interested to watch it. So I really appreciate your thoughts and opinions here, and of course, your time with me today. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Was that shorter at least?